right now.
Hey, Michael, it's great to see you.
As well as you, Stan. How are things going?
Good, doing well. We appreciate your participation in GNE, and we really look forward to hearing what you have to say.
First of all, thank you very much, Stan. It's really a pleasure and an opportunity that I'm grateful for to be able to speak to the MEF Enterprise Council and to be able to provide a perspective for at least my view in terms of the activities that Google is undergoing in terms of our transformation of our enterprise network. My background has been nearly 30 years in the telecommunications industry. I've been with Google now for approaching 3 years, working as part of a larger team that's transforming our enterprise network. Google operates fundamentally two different types of networks. Our production network is the one that most people think of when they think about Google and the connectivity and the search services. So that production network supports the ad network. It supports the Google Cloud Computing Platform. It supports all the Google suite of applications and an ever-growing amount of generative AI. The secondary network that we operate is a Google Enterprise Network, and that largely connects all of the Google employees under Alphabet, all of our subsidiaries, and our contractors and vendors, so that support the network and the communications that happens behind the scenes. Oh, the network is a kind of a higher end, I would say, enterprise network, and that we have engineering and architecture teams that fundamentally assure that the network is highly available. We have an operations team that maintains surveillance of the network on a 7-by-24-hour basis, and it supports in excess of 400,000 employees and contractors and vendors around the world. The network is extended into 56 countries and more than 1,000 points of presence around the world. Yeah, so we have acquisition, service and delivery and assurance, operations team, engineering, software development. We actually even have a team that does consulting for the various entities within Google.
So this GN network, then you're connecting offices, data centers. What's the scope in terms of the connectivity requirements and
yeah,
so forth?
Absolutely. So we connect campuses, so Google campuses and offices, back to Google data centers and to public internet peering points. We've also made connections out for one-off events like Google I/O, Google Cloud, Google Next.
Okay.
Also provide executive sort of connectivity as well. So when our executive and leadership team are traveling around the world, we provide constant connectivity for them when they're traveling, either by plane, or private plane, or at the venue that they're speaking at. So we've got teams that are putting in networks for a number of Google X projects.
Okay. And then maybe in terms of like the types of connectivity services, are you talking waves, Ethernet? What's the combination or the type of service you're actually using for connectivity?
Yes, certainly. And that's actually a point that's kind of in a state of flux right now.
Okay.
Historically, we've purchased infrastructure, preference around dark fiber where we can possibly get that, and it's viable from both an economic and technical standpoint, as well as wavelengths. However, as we start to evolve our network, we're looking for more point-to-multi-point designs, allowing us to have resilient, self-healing network connectivity that is a little bit more fault resilient.
Okay. Now, so our event here is focused on building out this global ecosystem that will support network as a service, right, across multiple providers. What's your view on NaaS, and how does that play into sort of your expectations from the service provider community that you work with, or other partners in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of components in there that are very appealing to us. So fundamentally, network as a service is something that we're still trying to define from the lens of the Google Enterprise Networking, a very close look at that and working with our key top carriers and partners around the world to make sure that we have an ecosystem that is a balance between customized as well as commercially off the shelf and highly available products and services. Because the last thing that we want is to have something that's a one-off or unique. We want to make sure that we are following industry best practices, but also then making sure that we're addressing that balance between business needs and off the shelf. And so network as a service represents a very important pillar in that total realization of our intent-driven policy-based networks.
From your perspective, what do you sort of see as the key or the glue that kind of ties this ecosystem together?
Well, I think it probably is not surprising that from Google, I mean, everything kind of starts with API enablement.
Okay.
We're managing relationships around the world with a wide range of carriers and service providers, and the last thing we want is to be able to have to be mandated to log into unique portals around the world. What we want to have is a single type of API interface that we can develop that's cloud enabled, that will allow us to programmatically make changes in the network topology and the service definitions and types based on our business requirements. So I think that it would start with a clear, uniform, industry consistent definition of the APIs, both at the operation layer as well as at the business logic layer.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that's what MEF is all heavily focused on, that full life cycle. Once the service is ordered, well, everything from getting a quote to ordering and then seeing the performance across. And so you would be looking for those performance stats across that whole environment then for your support, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're developing internal key objectives and metrics. Right now, a lot of those metrics are collected through an sundry of systems, network performance in terms of vendor responsive. So starting out with the vendor responsiveness in terms of tenders and bids and RFPs, all the way through to contracting, execution, service delivery. So that service delivery is an incredibly important component when we're talking about a global network to make sure that when our sites and facilities are ready, that connectivity is right on the heels of that. And in some cases, even earlier than the site availability.
So what are like 2 or 3 key things that you'd be looking then for from the community to support your requirements going forward?
Well, I think that that there's probably maybe 2 or 3 main focuses for the enterprise network and things that we think that should really be in place. I mean, ultimately, what we'd like to do is have the ability to inquire and survey networks across the board, so that we have the ability to poll and interrogate multiple carriers for route availability, diversity, avoiding single points of failure, service types, class and definitions around the world. So that ability to kind of self-manage and regulate the early cycle of planning. And that also plays an important role in our ability to make sure that we're maintaining a highly available and resilient network. The second phase of that would be for us to be able to develop a suite of APIs that allow us to operate and maintain this network, both through the life of that circuit, as well as what we do either in terms of contract renewing, or termination of that service. And then lastly, the ultimate vision would be for us to be able to instantiate some of our generative AI models across not only our own infrastructure, but extending that capability across the carrier ecosystem. And hopefully, in my lifetime, we'll be able to see that ecosystem really develop, not only from a carrier and connectivity standpoint, but from an aggregator, from an intelligent contracting standpoint, and be able to really instantiate a networking paradigm that will allow us to provision from end to end throughout the entire life cycle, much like people today do with airlines reservations.
Excellent. Michael, really nice vision for the industry, and really appreciate you outlining some of those key requirements for us.
Absolute pleasure, Stan.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the
And
call.
good luck on your journey.
Appreciate it.